I want to start today with the speech that President Joe Biden gave on the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa massacre that took place in 1921, where it is estimated that some 300 blacks lost their lives and a thriving community in Tulsa was torched by racist whites. And Joe Biden then proceeded to say he's in Tulsa, that America is systemically racist and we have to root out America's systemic racism. Jessie Jackson was in the audience. He frequently turned to Jessie Jackson and said, you know, Jessie, you know this better than anybody else. You know this, the usual condescending kind of stuff that Joe Biden does. And as I'm watching this speech, I'm thinking about the way he kept turning to Jessie Jackson and said, Jessie, you know this. Jessie, you know this better than anybody else. Jessie, you know you. And then would proceed to make some point about how bad America is in terms of race relations. Jessie Jackson grew up without a father. I've told you that that is far and away the biggest domestic problem in America. It's not systemic racism. It's systemic fatherlessness. 70% of black kids, again, enter the world without a father married to the mother. 50% of Hispanic kids, 25% of white kids. A number that in 1965 was deemed to be so high and so alarming that Daniel Patrick Moynihan, a Democrat, wrote a booklet called The Negro Family, a Case for National Action, in which he talked about what must be done, because when you have a out-of-wedlock birth rate that high, and by the way, he attributed it to racism and Jim Crow and slavery, you're going to have all sorts of negative social consequences. Well, fast forward, that number now is 70%. And there's no way you're going to convince me that America is more racist in 2021 than it was in 1965. Yet that is apparently what the left wants you to believe. Now, getting back to Jessie Jackson, there's a book called Thunder in America. It's out of print now. And it talked about the pain that Jessie Jackson felt when he was growing up in South Carolina without a father, which was very unusual in those days. And he was taunted by kids who said, Jessie ain't got no daddy, Jessie ain't got no daddy. I mention that because this is a man who is an extremely influential and powerful black leader in America, so-called black leader in America. I don't particularly care for that term. And his mantra is systemic racism, systemic racism, systemic racism. When in fact, as I've said a million times, and I know Jessie Jackson's listening, probably on the down low, doesn't want anybody to know, get out your magic wand. Wave it over America. Every smidgen of racism has now been removed from the hearts of white America. No more racist cops, no more racist teachers, no more racist doctors, no more racist employers. Are the major problems facing the black community still there? 70% of black kids enter the world without a father married to the mother. Is that still there? Do we still have a 50% urban high school dropout rate? Do we still have 25% of young black boys living in the inner city with criminal records? If the answer is yes, then what the hell are you talking about? There is no more influential black person in America, no more powerful, no more persuasive than Barack Obama. He too grew up without a father. Writes about it in his book, Dreams of My Father. In fact, it so pained him that he lied to classmates and told them that his father was an African chieftain, and that's why his father wasn't over there with Barack Obama. It was so painful he lied about it. The whole book was over the angst he felt for not having a father, whom I think he met twice. Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton has a show on MSNBC for reasons that escape me. He had a nice middle-class life until his father abandoned the family and then down to the hood. Louis Farrakhan. Mother estranged from his father, had a boyfriend, took back up with the husband, got pregnant, didn't want the boyfriend to know, attempted to abort Louis Farrakhan with a coat hanger. You might argue that these are the four most influential so-called black leaders in America: Obama, Sharpton, Jessie Jackson, Farrakhan. What do they have in common? All grew up without fathers. Yet is that their priority issue? No. Their priority issue is the white man done us wrong. The white man done us wrong. At a time where only 3% of Americans said they would not vote for a black person for president, first time Gallup asked that in 1958, 37% said that they would. Now, only 3% said they would not. You're not helping. You're making things worse. Now, over the weekend, I saw a movie called The Streets Were My Father. Extraordinary film that looks at the lives of 3 Chicago ex-cons, committed serious offenses, including murder, did serious long time, each of whom, as is the case in 85% of the cases of men behind bars, each of whom grew up without fathers. We're going to talk about that when we come back. 800-pound elephant in the room sitting right there, Jessie Jackson. And it's not making anything better. It's making things worse. I'm Larry Elder.